Eva Landry and Emma Schultz had been inseparable since the 3rd grade, one of those rare friendships that survived bad relationships, worse apartments, and the slow erosion of childhood innocence. Now, in their late 20s, they shared a spacious but aging rental home on the edge of Camden. Maine, one of those quiet New England towns tourists loved for the harbor, the foliage, and the quaint sense that nothing bad ever happened there. The house had character. Creaky wood floors, radiators that hissed like whispers at night, and a 3rd floor with a single unused room that had been padlocked when they moved in. The landlord, a silent man named Mr. Fenn, had told them not to worry about it. Old storage, he said. Used to be a servant's quarters back when the place was a boarding house in the 40s. Nothing in there now. They hadn't pushed the issue. The rent was cheap, and the neighborhood was safe. At least, it had been. The noises started in winter, late January. Light footsteps in the attic above their bedrooms. Always late at night. Always just after 2:14 a.m. At first, they blamed each other. "I heard you walking around upstairs last night," Eva said one morning over coffee. Emma shook her head. "I thought that was you." They laughed it off, half-heartedly. But then came the shadow. Eva saw it first. She was coming back from the store one evening just after sunset when she looked up at the house and saw someone watching her from the 3rd floor window. She froze, bags in hand, stomach dropping like a stone in water. There was no light on, just a figure, still as stone. Pale face, maybe. She couldn't be sure. It blinked, then ducked away. By the time she got inside, the upstairs was silent. Emma was in the kitchen. "You been upstairs?" "No," Emma said, frowning. "Why?" Eva didn't answer. They tried to forget. But over the next few weeks, things got worse. The sounds grew louder. Sometimes it sounded like a child pacing, sometimes like a low, guttural moan just above the ceiling. They found the padlock on the attic door open one morning. Not broken, just unlocked. And neither of them had a key. Emma started having nightmares. Each one the same. She'd be standing at the base of the attic stairs, drawn upward by whispering voices, her feet moving against her will. Then, one night, she found herself actually there, sleepwalking, barefoot, standing just outside the attic door. "What if someone's been living up there?" Emma asked, trembling. "They called the police. A pair of officers showed up, searched the house. Found nothing in the attic but old furniture covered in dusty sheets, a shattered mirror, and a faint smell of burnt hair. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, no squatters. The cops left with an eye roll and probably just a raccoon. But neither Eva nor Emma believed it. They set up cameras, just simple motion sensors, cheap ones from the hardware store. For 4 nights, nothing. Then, on the 5th night, Eva checked the footage. Her breath caught. At exactly 2:14 a.m., the camera facing the attic door turned itself off. 10 seconds later, it turned back on. But it was no longer in the hallway. It was filming their living room, aimed at the couch. Neither of them had moved it. Worse, still on the screen, someone was sitting on the couch. A figure, face blurred, no movement, just staring at the lens, unblinking, still as a photograph. They packed a bag and stayed in a motel that night. Emma became obsessed. She started digging into the house's history. Spent hours at the local library, combing through newspapers and property records. The house had a dark past. A woman named Mary Alcott had lived there. A seamstress who took in boarders after her husband died in the war. One of her tenants, a young man named Russell Finch, went missing. So did 2 women who rented the 3rd floor room. Police suspected Mary, but nothing was proven. She died in the house found hanging from the attic rafters. Her suicide note was a single line. "He never left. Eva didn't want to believe it, but then she saw the figure again. Not in person, in a dream. She was in her bedroom. The walls were bleeding, the air thick like smoke, and there he was, sitting in the corner, watching. When she woke up, the name Finch was carved into the wood floor beside her bed. They moved out the next week, found an apartment in town. Clean, bright, modern. But the noises followed. They began hearing footsteps in the hallway at night, even though they now lived on the second floor. Once, Eva woke up to find her phone camera open, recording her face while she slept. Emma found a photo on her phone she hadn't taken a shot of her in the shower from behind the curtain. They threw away the phones, changed numbers, changed locks. Didn't help. The worst came in April. Emma disappeared. 1 minute she was walking back from the store, the next, gone. Eva called the police, friends, hospitals. Nothing. No cameras caught anything. The last person to see her was a woman walking her dog, who said she saw Emma staring up at a third-floor window of a building that didn't have a third floor. Months passed. Eva kept moving, from town to town. She didn't tell people her real name anymore, burned every picture of herself and Emma, changed everything she could. But still he followed. She started seeing him in mirrors, reflections that didn't move when she did, faces behind her in windows, whispers through walls. She was slowly unraveling, but part of her still had to know, so she returned, back to Camden. The old house was abandoned. Fenn had died 6 months ago, heart attack. The house was due for demolition. Eva snuck in. Everything was the same, dusty, rotten, quiet. She climbed to the third floor. In the old bedroom, she found a mirror, cracked, covered in grime. And then she saw it, Emma, behind her. But when she turned around, nothing, just the faint smell of burnt hair. She looked back in the mirror. Emma's reflection was still there, smiling, and beside her, a man, blurry face, eyes black as tar, one hand resting on Emma's shoulder. She backed away, but the mirror didn't. It kept showing her, standing still. The last thing she saw was her own face, changing, stretching, eyes turning dark, and then black. The house was demolished 3 weeks later. 2 workers went missing. One was found in the rubble, curled into a ball, blind and screaming. The other was never found. Sometimes, when the wind is right, neighbors say you can hear footsteps in the air above where the house used to stand. Always just after 2:14 a.m.